Hey guys, it is November 26th, and we are back again. Now, all over the place. We're no longer in the office. We're still in Colorado, Pennsylvania, all sorts of places, and we have our special guest here, Cryptozombie, KDub. What's up? Hopefully you guys can hear us all right, and let me know if you guys can't hear us well. We have a couple people already in the chat, so yeah. How you doing, KDub? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening.
So how are you doing? Tell us a little about yourself. Tell us what you're doing on the what you're doing in the space, and a quick 10-second introduction, man.
10 seconds. Jeez.
Sorry. You can take longer. You can take longer.
Well, currently I'm losing my ass in the bear market and making some news videos while it's happening. Is that pretty much cut and dry? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people know I got into the space last May. I'm kind of a newbie compared to some of the OGs. Got fascinated with the tech, the space. And, now what I do mostly is I just try to cover a lot of mostly what's going on with the news, because when I used to work a day job, that was the one thing I could never keep up with in this space was all the craziness going on. So, yeah, I basically try to slam everything that's going on in like 20 minutes every day. So that's what I do.
Wow. 20 minutes in every day.
Sometimes sometimes
I think all of us here at Cryptosomniac, we're big fans of your channel. And, we get a lot of good content from you, a lot of good updates from you. Things that, I don't know how you do it, man, because it's so current. Like, do you sleep?
No, I don't. That's why it's called Cryptozombie.
Oh, man, wow.
I literally don't. No, I mean, I sleep, but I get up very early. Like, I still treat this like a job, like I take it very seriously. I care about the community and, the information that I put out. So, yeah, I mean, I spend a lot more time on it than I probably should, but.
For sure. Cryptozombie and Cryptosomniac, we're all headed to an early grave, right? So that being said, we have a first couple questions here today. What does everyone here think about the whole Bitcoin Cash Wars? What side are you on, or are you on a side? Have you exited the market? Let's go down the list and, kind of figure out what we really think about Bitcoin Cash. I mean, I think everybody knows my views, and I think Jason's views on Bitcoin Cash. Let's go down the list and figure it out. SV, non-SV, Craig Wright, Roger Ver. It's at number 7 on CoinMarketCap right now.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you fork a top coin. I mean, you pretty much, it's yeah. I mean, personally, I'll start from I've never owned Bitcoin Cash ever, except like whatever was given to me in the initial fork, which I sold off. So I've pretty much never held any. So this whole thing didn't really affect me, but it affected the markets, and it affected people's perception of the ability to create this centralization, which goes really against it. And you're seeing a lot of people, unfortunately, have this lack of faith in proof of work protocols. And now all of a sudden, you see XRP, everyone's talking about that. And I think it's really not unfortunate that people, XRP, it does what it does. I've put all my things aside with XRP. I just think that as far as the Bitcoin Cash thing goes, it's a shame the way that they basically put ego first, and we're mining at a loss, and they really don't realize how many people were hurt by their actions, I guess. So personally, I can't really stand by any Bitcoin Cash forks ever. So that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. But one of the things I will say is the very little, and I guess I'll give you my opinion now. I actually have been a very anti-Bitcoin Cash person. I actually do own some Bitcoin SV now. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, but I own some just to hedge it a little bit, and it's performing decently. But we'll see what's actually coming through the future, how it all plays out. But I don't know if I would blame this entire bear market on the Bitcoin Cash. You can't blame it on Bitcoin Cash in general, but ever since we were at 60, we were sitting at 62, and then of course the Bitcoin Cash hard fork, and then we're now at trying to break through 4,000. Still, what's the price right now?
Let's see here. Oop, I don't have my chart up.
36.58.
Yeah.
That's what it is on Coinbase. Bitcoin Cash is at 174. Ethereum's at 103. So
yeah, well, previously,
we're getting hammered here. I don't know if Ethereum could actually stay above 100 for too long. People are dumping it left and right. But yeah, I recently read an article on News BTC about what was it? What are they saying? $2.4 billion was raised on these lists of ICOs, and right now, almost none of them are being traded. Things like HDAC. Who remembers HDAC? That was really Hyundai Digital Assets or something like that. Obviously huge ICO, and all they did was raise Ethereum, and now they're dumping it. So maybe this dump will continue, but I don't think. To get back on subject, let's go back to James and Jason. And what do you guys think about this, Jason?
What?
Let's start with or James. Let's start with James.
Well, on your last comment, we're still in the act of price discovery based on these projects raising ETH and dumping it. So we need to discover that price and kind of wash all that out of the system. As an Australian, not a supporter of Craig Wright, nor do we are an advocate for him. I'm the same. I've never been. I've always been against Bitcoin Cash. Roger Ver did a lot of good things in the start, and I praise him for that. But I just don't like how Bitcoin Cash were advertising pretty much as they were Bitcoin, and people were buying Bitcoin Cash thinking it was Bitcoin. That's really what I have against them. And this war could have been the catalyst for the drop. There was no reason for us to really go up from 6.65. We were expecting a crash and to recover based on actual price action, as it being cheap enough, or we've hit a bottom and the price is so cheap that we reverse from there. This war, this internal feud might have been a catalyst, and they're mining at a loss, so they've got to fund that. And the word is they're selling Bitcoin to fund that mining. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. But it's definitely not a good thing.
It's true. Very true.
Jason, I'll let you go on that.
Sorry, I was just chiming in the chat as well, but I think, honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat as James. I think all Bitcoin hard forks that are not Bitcoin are basically just continuing to dilute the system, taking hashing power away, taking brand recognition away, and just further diluting the message of what it really is. Now, that being said, does Roger Ver, like I say this all the time, I feel like a broken record when I say it. A lot of times when he starts talking, I really believe in what he's saying, as far as like he talks about Satoshi's vision and peer-to-peer cash, and then he just loses along the way. But I didn't specifically mean to talk about Roger Ver. I just think, honestly, I think both of them having a figurehead running it, which with a giant ego battle, is not good for the space overall. And especially when Craig Wright is going around saying things like, "We will dump Bitcoin down to $1,000 Bitcoin doesn't bother me." That's not the words of somebody that cares about the space truly. That's words of somebody that cares about their own private gain, in my opinion. So I don't support either fork, and I don't hold either one.
It's definitely not the words of Satoshi. I can tell you that. If you read the original white paper, I could never imagine that guy being the one behind it. I mean, it's like two different polarizing opposite people. So there's just, I agree with you 100%, Jason.
Yeah, I definitely think, I agree with the majority of what you guys are saying as well. I do think that these guys have been in the space for quite some time. So there is an amount of respect that I need to pay to them, because, without them and without them putting everything on the line, it's kind of difficult for, us to say that, that we could be kind of where we're at now. I know that they're fighting the battle hard, and, and it looks really ridiculous, obviously, with Craig and Roger and, some of the things that they had said, even last year when we forked Bitcoin Cash. A lot of that stuff was ridiculous. We thought it was ridiculous already. But there still presents a trading opportunity. So it really depends on, do you want to take the risks to get Bitcoin Cash? A lot of people looked at it as free money. A lot of people traded the hype. It's dependent on kind of how you look at it. I know that Poloniex and a couple of other exchanges had Bitcoin Cash SV and ABC futures trading, and that was extremely volatile and quite interesting. I know there's a lot of action on BitMEX as well. So I guess that from a trader's perspective, if you were kind of sick of Bitcoin kind of staying stable at that one, like within the couple $100 range, you were looking forward to some volatility on trading margin or trading some of these futures. So I guess, looking at it from both directions, I personally don't hold any of it anymore. I got it from the fork as well. But I think that traders and investors and people in the space look at it differently.
So let me ask a broader range question then. In addition to your, in addition to all this Bitcoin Cash drama, why do you think we're plummeting so hard? Why are we breaking through each resistance each support over and over again? We can't even get over 4,000 right now. Why do you guys think that is? And what's the buzz all about? Why is this happening?
Fear, uncertainty, FUD. It literally is about the most likely scenario. We've endured a pretty long-term bear market at this point, and with looks of no letting up anytime in the near future. I think realistically, a large portion of the people that are interested in cryptocurrency got in recent history. I would say in the last 2 years, I can say I would qualify in the last 2 years. And I think as a result, just anybody who's a reasonable trader, or at least understands basic economic principles at a certain point, is going to cut their losses or prevent further losses or take profit while it's still there. And I just think that's it, is we finally reached that capitulation point where a lot of people got in, and we are back to reaching down to where they're like, I'd rather walk away up some money and just cashing out.
Yeah, that 20K anomaly had to be recorrected. And I was asking people at 665, did you have hope? Do you still have hope then? And they all said yes. And I asked them now, do you have hope now? And they said no. That's a good thing. That's a turning point. We need people not to have hope. We need a capitulation. We just need to end the bear market in this way. And I think there was a combination of things happening with projects selling ETH, didn't have a good treasury or capital management in place. We had this, the fork, there was quite a few things that happened. And then there's just that fear, and it accelerates the drop. While this question's here, we had a donation from Anthony Monorot saying if SEC says ETH is a security token, huge dip. Didn't SEC already say that Ethereum is a utility?
No, they classify it as a commodity.
Yeah.
Right. So that has a 2-year statute of limitations. Is that the correct word, statute of limitations? Because that sounds dirty. But yeah, it has a 2-year period where they can't change it, right? But in the year 2019, late 2019, they'll be able to change it. But they changed it, or they made it true in 2017, right?
Yeah, and I think there's some misunderstandings between recent SEC actions, obviously, with some of the recent ICOs saying that they were securities and certain things. Obviously they're ERC tokens. They were born off of ETH, but it's not necessarily the same thing. Just because those ones were classified in the way that they raise funds, can they go back and say that ETH is a security? So I think it's there's a lot of things, a lot of uncertainty right now with what's happening from SEC standpoint, and we hopefully will get some regulatory clarity as we move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that has a lot to do with it as well. And as far as ETH is concerned, until they get that whole scalability, they really get those killer dApps on it. Right now, it's basically just a fundraising mechanism. And if the SEC is coming in and saying that this is not how you're supposed to be doing fundraising, well, then what's going to happen to ETH short term? That's my question. That's its basic utility right now, is a fundraising mechanism. So that is one thing I am concerned about with ETH. But like, you know, you do hear that they got all these things coming out. They're working on scalability and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's also a lot of competition that is also in the works. But the advantage ETH has is obviously the developers. They have a lot of them. So that's the one thing you have to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Did you guys see Justin Sun today talking about, he was like, hey, while we're in the middle of this bear market and you're all fire selling your ETH, why don't you just come on over and start building on Tron? We have 0 transaction fees. We have,
I mean, for time, right? He says that pretty much every day.
Yeah, that's true. But,
one of the things you have to give it to him is obviously his persistence. I mean, it can be annoying at times, but he's got the most positive outlook out of everybody.
I mean, Tron is if you're already a Solidity developer, Tron is incredibly easy to use. They already have all the tool frameworks already up and ready, and their virtual machine, their Tron virtual machine, it's forwards and backwards compatible with Ethereum. So your Ethereum smart contract is essentially you really don't have to do that much to move from Ethereum to Tron.
And I think that's one of the main points as well. Some of these newer platforms that are out there, they are backwards compatible with Ethereum's virtual machine. There's no secret that they're trying to do that, but still, with Ethereum and just the amount of developers and the history it has, I think it still will continue to be around. But yeah, Tron, I mean, they're getting a ton of transactions, right? They've got a bunch of different things, but nobody really even knows what Tron does anymore, right? They're into gaming. They're into, building all these different systems.
Who did they buy out? It was a big deal.
Well, they bought out
BitTorrent.
BitTorrent. Yeah, and that was a huge deal. Actually, I mean, I congratulate them for doing that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
but I don't really know what. There haven't been any solid plans on what they were doing with that. Are they using Tron as a currency? Are they using Tron as a platform to help to decentralize that platform even more? I don't know. But that is a pretty big acquisition.
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
The potential avenue for distribution for that. I mean, if Tron really effectively does become like the decentralized app store, having BitTorrent would significantly increase, I think, the ability to distribute content, and they could make that more of like, instead of just being an app store, they could be like effectively they could be like a decentralized iTunes, or like a full on where you could get all sorts of different kinds of content. So what platforms are you guys looking at right now other than ETH? We just spoke about Tron. Are you guys even looking in Neo's direction or Qtum's direction or Cardano's direction? Because I recently just got an email from Cardano from their support staff saying, hey, move your Cardano over to that's why they're not really giving any wallet support, because it's still so extremely centralized. They just hard forked it. No one even knows about this hard fork other than the exchanges, and of course me, who's applied to be an exchange or a wallet provider, and they're still completely delayed. After all these academia papers, none of this works. Qtum, it's just so inefficient to mine Qtum. Neo, don't even get me started about Neo. What's going on there? It's a $7 coin right now.
Well, Neo actually pretty much blatantly came out and said that they want to start focusing on gaming now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's basically what it's from Dahong Fei. And I actually think that may not be a bad thing, because to be honest with you, from DevCon and all these people that they've built and all these hackathons, a lot of them are kind of focused on gaming. So you might as well just go with where the demand is. Yeah. And I think that that's a great avenue for Neo. And in that sense, if they do tend to just go full force into the gaming realm, I can actually get behind that and support it, because it's an actual possible use case that I could see them doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have blockchain gaming, and if they get into like NFTs, collectibles like that. But the problem is you have some pretty massive competition, because you have Engine, who just came up with the ERC 721s. You also have Wax, which is already established, and not to mention Coco's BCX, which just is getting in the game now. I mean, these guys are massive. They already have the 2D Engine, whatever it is. I mean, these guys have worked on Angry Birds and all these other things. So there is a lot of competition for Neo. If
answer that avail. Oh, go ahead, Wei.
Well, I was going to say, and we talked about this last week as well, as kind of where we saw some of these projects going and where we were going to see some adoption. And I had mentioned before that I spent the summer in Korea. And in Korea, and my wife is a Korean, and her mother-in-law, everybody over there already knew about kind of blockchain and cryptocurrency. They've been really, they've adopted this for quite some time. And I think that mass adoption comes from not people understanding what blockchain is or cryptocurrency is, but they're using it in their everyday lives without actually even realizing it. And from a gaming perspective, that's like one of the hugest platforms that you can actually get adoption on. There's people have been so used to, digital currency, paying for digital video game assets, whether it's in, big time in Asia and Korea. I think that, with Neo shifting that focus over, it does rub some people the wrong way, but it's not necessarily a bad way to pivot if you feel like that's, where you have to go and you have the resources to go there. Especially with things like Ontology and some of these other ones coming out built on their platform, they can start to shift some focus without kind of like just blowing up their entire community or the ecosystem.
And to that avail, I just wanted to pinpoint something on Neo's radar that I think is terrible for Neo is it's really expensive to run a simple smart contract, right? Or start a simple smart contract. When it was $100 a coin, what was it, like 50,000, or was it, $55,000 to start a smart contract? You have to buy 500 gas, and on top of that, you can't fractionalize any of this. You have to send a whole Neo or a whole gas, no, you don't have to send whole gas.
Well, gas you can break down.
Yeah, gas you can break down, but Neo, you have to send a whole entire Neo, or it's I've lost a Neo before. When it was $100, I was pissed. But now that it's $7, that's like a Happy Meal. So
Bittrex back in the day, before people caught on to the fact that it wasn't divisible, if you didn't round up, because they would take 0.1 as a fee. So if you did if you had like 11.2 Neo or no, I forget what I'm trying to say. But you know what I'm trying to say. If you didn't have
anything,
they would take like the whole extra, so they could take up to like 0.9 Neo from you or something like that.
Ridiculous.
And then they were keeping all the gas too. That was great. So.
It's fundamentally, it'd be good to watch if now gas is cheaper, if we start seeing people move on to Neo. But we've seen there's a couple just launching on Go Chain. I think some of them are going to get some traction, but Ethereum is still going to be the boss. They have a lot of plans, so we're still very early.
Yeah, absolutely. We was talking about adoption, and you actually made me think about when we were talking about kids being used to digital. If you think about it, they actually had a survey that they did. I think it was like last week, and they asked like a bunch of kids, what would you want for Christmas? $1,000 in cash, 1,000 whatever, and most of them said that they want V-Bucks for Fortnite. Like they actually want V-Bucks, physical money. Yeah. So, I mean, they're already ready for it. It's just a matter of integrating it, getting it. And, they're ready for crypto. It's just they don't want to go through the hassle of buying it for one, So.
And I don't think that, anybody cares. Well, we care because we're enthusiasts and we're deep in, we're deep in this. But I think that from the consumer side, nobody really cares about cryptocurrency or what it is. They just want to, use it because it makes their life better or allows them to do certain things. And, I think that that's where we'll see that adoption is because, the same thing is like with cell phones or email or internet security. Everybody knows you need it, but they don't really understand why or the technology workings behind it. And you can't really expect them to. So that's okay. Let us be the pioneers and be the investors and enthusiasts behind it while everybody else will start to use it without realizing it.
And unfortunately, most of the people watching all the YouTubers and streams and things like that, we're not really concerned about adoption, right? We're basically crypto right now is just fuel for us to get to the moon, right? That's all that we're focused on. It's like, hey, how do I get rich? Let's focus on this. So it's
and I think it's probably maybe adoption will be a milestone for us early adopters. I mean, we're obviously in a very speculative market. Whoever, depending on when you invested in Bitcoin or any type of cryptocurrency, your perception of where we're at right now is significantly different. I have a lot of friends that say, hey, don't you feel like an idiot now that Bitcoin went from 20,000 down to 4,000? I mean, yeah, I feel kind of bad that it did, but it really depends on when you got in, what you're currently doing, and what are you going to do about it, right? So you're going to sit there and and just, hold all the way down, it's extremely painful, right? But, I think that it depends on who you listen to, and, crypto Twitter and YouTube, everybody's just so salty either way, right? Positive or negative. It's just everybody's just so damn extreme and triggered. That's what people feed off of. And it sucks, but that's the market that we're in. Arthur Hayes he's a crazy guy, right? So we saw, what did he tweet the other day? Like, something effing 2 digits for Ethereum. He's a salty guy, but you know what? He built a massive platform. So it's just like these guys, him, Craig, a lot of these guys, they've been in the space for a long time. They feel like they can say whatever they want, and they probably can get away with that for a little bit. But, if we're going to see this thing move forward, I think that, there are a lot of things in place for mass adoption in terms of the institutional side. Go ahead, Snake.
Yeah, it's not only that, too. It's the Twitter, it's YouTube, but it's also these TradingView guys, that honestly, TradingView has a lot more views and traction than you would really expect. Some of these people get 30, 40,000 views, 400-500 comments on their charts every single day, right?
Yeah, and they're not just crypto guys. They're not just crypto guys. They're like the Forex guys. There are other people using TradingView as another platform.
Yeah,
and they're going in there just to see. And I think that it's those people, I guess we call them no-coiners, right? The people that don't hold Bitcoin or any type of coin. They just want to go in there and try to rub it in your face and say, hey, man, I told you. But you know what? You didn't buy in. You didn't sell. You're not in it. So your opinion doesn't really matter to me, right?
The fact is, Bitcoin is still the best performing asset in the last 10 years, right? It is the best on any asset class, right? Commodities, stocks, bonds,
Mm-hmm. So that's a good question. So maybe KDub, since you follow the news more than anybody I know, somebody had put out something about how you compare how they've compared gold to Bitcoin. I'm not sure if you saw that article, but it was something like gold is down from 1,800 to 1,200.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I saw the same one that you did, but I saw one that was actually pointing like similarity between when you were able to actually have gold futures come in. That's versus when Bitcoin futures came in. And if you put the charts on top of each other, they're almost similar. Whereas gold was doing fine. And then all of a sudden futures come out and then, we can short it. So we don't care if it goes up or down. You know what I'm saying? So then you see this massive crash and it took a 2-year bear market for gold. So you're kind of seeing something similar with crypto. I mean, we had the massive retail bubble, really no news, nothing's really going on. This year, everyone's getting involved, everyone's getting their hands in it. You got Fidelity and Bakkt and this guy, but yet it's the lowest price that it's been. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think it personally, I mean, I'm not crazy conspiracy theory, but I definitely know for a fact there's something going on in the background. I mean, come on. I talk to people every day. No one's that freaked out. No one's panic selling. A couple people are, but if I go in my, why are we all down right now? We've all lost. Well, clearly we didn't, you know what I'm saying? So I think there's something else going on in the background. And I think that these guys, like you said, if you got Fidelity coming in, there's 7.2 trillion they manage in assets or something like that. Why are you getting involved in a $130 billion space? You know what I mean? If you don't see something, if there's not some potential here, obviously you're trying to accumulate on the cheap and you're going to, I don't know. It's my opinion. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think that all these institutions, they've already announced what they're doing. Everybody, they're all coming in 2019, back to 2019. Right. So I think all this news is baked in. Whatever we're doing right now is, I don't know why we're down this far. I don't, fundamentally, who could really predict how far we're going to be going down? I definitely think that, as a trader, you trade the volatility. It's great. But I think that fundamentally, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I think that a lot of this news is probably already baked in. And James, you probably have something to say about this too, huh?
Yeah, James, what do you think about the OTC markets as well? What are you seeing in the OTC markets? Is it still selling at a premium, a discount, on top of the additional question?
Well, there hasn't been a discount really since the start of the year when everyone was trying to sell at higher prices, so they could afford to. It made sense to give 5-6% discount. There was a lot of accumulation around the 6.5K mark. A lot of buyers. Way more than sells, and they weren't giving away discount. A lot of buyers were buying straight from a desk and with the premium because there was no sellers to match with, and often those sellers you know, they've been in the space for a while, and they already had preferred desks or people they matched with anyway. There wasn't new ones coming onto the market. Saw all these deals floating around, but a lot of them were recycled deals that were months old that couldn't get filled because the discounts were too much. It just wasn't realistic. Right now, I talked to the desk the other day, and they said, I asked them any OTC, anything happening, and it said not because of the crash. You know, once it settles, if we find a bottom now, then a lot more buyers will start coming in. Everyone's a little bit scared to start buying now because they don't know how low it's going to be. So, but there has been some big OTC alt buys wanting to come in, and they're quite hard to fill. There's some of the early investors, some of the capital companies that are holding certain altcoins, and but yeah, but they want to sell at a premium. So there are some orders coming in. Zilliqa looks like an interesting one as well. So that's quite a bit of demand. And with the last drop of BTC, that didn't move. So pretty much stayed where it is. And they have the anchor DAP at the end of the month and the mainnet at the end of the year.
So while we're on this subject, you know, with the end of the year coming up and saying, hey, dude, a lot of these things are geared up for 2019. We recently saw Overstock.com, I think that just was announced today, that they're selling off their entire retail business. Does that mean their online retail business? That means their entire online interface where they're selling goods. So they're completely selling that off. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. They're moving into the blockchain space. I mean, they didn't go into crazy amounts of detail, but they said they're going to be focused on this space solely. That's where they want to move forward. So
by February of 2019. So they have a
I mean, he's been extremely vocal about it for however long we've known.
But what does that mean? What does that mean? You're going to sell off your business that works for crypto? Like, is that wise? Like,
he may sell off his marketplace component of it, right? So online marketplaces are huge businesses right now. He could be selling it off to fund something completely unregulated, unrelated to Overstock.com.
Yeah, I don't think it's related, and I don't think it was doing as good as what you may think. And yeah, they pretty much want to double down on blockchain. They've been in it for a while, and I think they have some things gearing up to be released. That's the other thing. I like to separate cryptocurrency and blockchain. I'm working with a lot of projects, and they're getting a lot of business-to-business transactions with their chains and what they're offering and the efficiency of using the blockchain. And there is a division there away from cryptocurrency. And it's going to be like Oracle. It's going to be this big technology that you don't know you're using. So you'll be using it without even knowing it.
I think that's really it. Is, you know, it's any of us who are idealists or have some sort of attachment to the potential to change the world, if you will, are sticking around and interested in the technology. But otherwise, I think a lot of people just come into this because they're like, I just want a place to park my money, and then it's going to be worth more money by the time I try to sell it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people are here for the money. In fact, if you want to notice the difference, put out a video where you're like, I don't know how to use this particular decentralized exchange and see how many views you get, and then put a video that says like, what will the price be at the end of the month? And it's like you could just see where the attention is. Like people, they'll come at you, they'll be like, oh, you got like a clickbait title or with your video. It's like, but let's be realistic. You guys, like, you say you're here for the tech, but if I make a video breaking down tech, no one watches. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
Exactly. 100%, dude. I say this all the time. Anybody who says they're not here for the money is tripping, because this is money. It is money, so we're all here for the money. Like, come on, let's be realistic about this.
And I forget who said it earlier, but someone, I forget which one of you guys said it, but someone was talking about the difference, like kind of like how over here we're just having fun, speculating, trying to make some money. But then there are certain people, for example, like in other spaces, that really could use crypto to better their lives. So there's all different levels of what crypto does and how it can help. Like maybe for us, we don't need it. And I'll hold $1, 2%, every year. I can deal with the loss, Right. It's a lot better than, 9,000 in Venezuela or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of different use cases, man. And, I don't see this going away at all. I mean, definitely like Bitcoin for me is like just get that freaking Bitcoin, guys. Do what you got to do and get the Bitcoin. And right now, do not cry, do not freak out. Just, this is a blessing, I think. I mean, these are basically going, when I first bought in, Bitcoin was 22. So this is like a second chance for me, you know?
Right.
So I'm not complaining. So
that is the part I trip out on so much, is like, it's going back to what Snare was saying earlier. I mean, last year, or even up until probably 2 months ago, people were still like, buy the dip, you know? And now if you're like, I bought the dip, people are like, you chump, you sucker, I can't believe you. And it's like, you know, like it's such a different world between, you know, all you got to do is buy the dip, and like, why are you still buying crypto? I'm like,
well, I bought my majority of my crypto, my Bitcoin, at $114. So I pray that we don't have a second chance like that. Because I don't think I can handle it. Honestly, I don't think I could handle it.
I don't think I could handle that.
I stop loss actually at $39.50. We actually put it on our Discord lounge. That hey, I was you know, we have a Discord lounge, guys. There's a free lounge and there's an advantage program, but please feel free to join the free lounge using the banner link below. It's actually not clickable, so you actually have to type that in. Yeah, YouTube doesn't really allow that too much, but I announced it saying, hey, I'm gonna do that $39.50 trailing stop loss. So now I'm heavily in fiat, and I'm just waiting for it to get even lower, so I could buy back even more. My whole objective in life right now is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Eat, sleep, and Bitcoin. You know, buy as much Bitcoin as possible.
I know, and the sad thing too is, like, you know, I was pretty naive when I got into it. I mean, you got into it way before me, so people know on my channel, you know, I'm not don't listen to me, no professional advice. I'm just a guy that likes crypto. I mean, but going from someone who'd never even like looked at an exchange before, you know, to like where we are now, it's just really insane how much this space has actually helped you to grow as a person. I know a lot of people are upset right now, like, oh, we lost money, but I actually made like a really big video about this because it's all I kept hearing. And I was like, guys, like, you can get money back. Like, money, you can always make money. There's always ways to get money. But these opportunities, they only happen once, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. For me personally, I definitely think that, like you said, it's about accumulating Bitcoin. And it's actually unfortunate to see how a lot of the fundamentals actually haven't really played out in this market. Like, projects that you say to yourself, like, wow, that's a really great project. Why is it not doing well? Well, because this little speculative 1 million altcoin gem has been pumping, and everyone's trying to get their gains on that. And I've kind of learned that after being in this for a year and a half. It's kind of like, I don't know, guys. It just seems like it's just kind of get in on the coin that's making the run, and then when it's done, it's done. It's unfortunate, you know. And I do hope that a lot of this crap gets pushed out, and I do hope that these guys eventually kind of clean the space up. But unfortunately, I actually think that we're just going to keep seeing more and more and more and more and more tokens, honestly. So, I mean, whether they're STOs or ICOs. And that's why for me, like you said, ride the waves, accumulate the Bitcoin, and try to hedge against it maybe with some of the blue chips. But what is a blue chip? Wasn't Neo a blue chip last year? Right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
What about Ethereum? You kidding me? Ethereum was $1,200 in January. It is $100 right now, or maybe less. I don't know. I'm not looking at the chart. But
if it breaks 100, I'm popping a bottle of champagne so I could drink myself to sleep.
Oh, come on. It did break 100 on Max.
It hit 100 on Max?
99. That's
it did. It hit like 99.4 or 5. Yeah, I saw that. That was crazy.
I'll send you that
like a second.
I'll send you that tweet. That was hilarious. I know that we were talking about earlier, you know, we're comparing it to gold and, you know, the price of, or the charts to how gold started and how it came back and how it came to be now. I think I found the article. There was an article that was posted today and said, you know, like what's a better store of long-term value? And I mean, obviously gold has a bigger history, but they were saying that, you know, the price of an ounce of gold is down 33% since 2011, right? And Bitcoin was only trading at $3 in 2011. So it's up approximately 118,000%. So yeah. Obviously, I mean, you know, gold was a much more, it's, you know, had a lot longer history, but they're comparing, you know, the gains between 2011 between gold and Bitcoin. So,
and I originally saw gold had a big bull run when ETFs were introduced.
Sure.
So maybe ETFs are a saving grace. You know, maybe I'll just keep shilling Bitcoin ETFs until they actually happen. Then I'll look like a genius. All right.
Well, they got that ETP in Switzerland, but nobody cared.
Yeah,
so
no one cared. I think it was already priced in, though.
It didn't happen I feel like at this point, if it doesn't happen in the US, it doesn't matter. That's how it feels. Or China, I guess, if China has some crazy change of sentiment. But
well, China's 600,000 miners stopped mining. They're all filing for bankruptcy. It's all over, I guess, crypto Reddit. I don't know if that's factual or not, and a couple of these news websites, because a lot of these news websites are pay to play. So I don't even know what's real and what's not. Everything's fake news these days. But
yeah, well, they were saying that they were over exaggerating it, because there were like literally pictures of people just like selling their ASICs as scrap metal. Like, that's a little pushing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could still use them to like do other things with. But the funny thing is.
But can you, though? Like, what can you do with an ASIC miner?
That's the whole thing. It's a specialized circuit. That's
what can you do with an ASIC miner? Honestly, you can't run anything with it.
You can go between Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin. You can keep flop it around until you get the one that's profitable. Yeah. No, but the thing was, today I actually talked about that, because some people were talking about that death spiral again, or like mining at a loss. And the thing is, like, it adjusts itself. So it sucks for the guys that are bankrupt, but the guys that are still in the game, it's going to be so much easier for them to keep mining. So that's like the beauty of that system.
Yeah.
But
exactly. I think it's 3,100 for Chinese to mine Bitcoin. That's how much it costs them to mine one Bitcoin. So I think they're still all right. I think there was pictures circulating of water damaged ASIC miners, which had nothing to do with what's happened now. So if it gets really cheap, then we can bust out the GPUs again.
Yeah, I got a laptop. Let's go.
Man. Wow. Yeah, it is really, right now, on average, on the average electricity cost in the United States, it's $4,500 to mine a single Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So you have to go to a specialized place like Montana, or out in the middle of Nevada where solar energy is super cheap, or next to a hydroelectric plant, or you're in Pennsylvania, using that fresh coal, that clean coal to mine some Bitcoin. Other than that, it's very unprofitable to mine Bitcoin right now. It's 4,500, and it's only going to get more expensive. By the time 2020, that's going to be $9,000. If utility costs stay the exact same, since the halving is going to happen, that means it's going to cost $9,000 to mine a single Bitcoin in 2020. That is absurd.
So what happens then? Does the difficulty come down, then it becomes less?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think
the difficulty is based on the amount of hash rate based on the actual miners. It doesn't actually affect the halvening; just happens regardless. But but it does control itself. I mean, that's the cool thing about it, is like, if everybody just said, "Oh, I can't do it; it's too expensive," like you guys said, kids would start doing it in their basements again, and then it would readjust and it'd go back up again. So that's why you can't kill Bitcoin, which is almost silly to think that this thing is going to die, because it's programmed into the code to be like a survivor. Yeah. I mean, you can't. It's a virus, man. It's out there. You're not turning it off. So
we had a question here, Anthony Monero. What a great last name. Why can't we return coins lost to the wrong address? I think that's simply just some tokens actually have that built in, where if you don't put enough gas, it sends it back. But otherwise, that's
they fixed that with the, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's the ERC 223. I think those new, I think they have that built in, where in case you send them to the wrong address, they actually do give them back. Whereas ERC 20s, you can actually, there's like a website where it shows how many of them are just like lost in limbo. Like, some of them are in the wrong contracts and stuff like that. So, I mean, to answer whoever asked that, they are working on that, and they do have some solutions, but some of the, ERC 20s don't do that.
All right. So listen to this. All right, guys. Early on the days where Bitcoin was completely worthless. No, it wasn't worthless. It was like like $20-$30, right? When I was still mining it in 2011, I sent, I think it was like 3 Bitcoin to Snay_bot. So whoever has the private keys to Snay_bot, that's my name. which is impossible to get the private keys from, but the transaction still went through. You know, clearly the transaction went through, but, you know, Bitcoin is archaic. And anyways, I'm still a little salty about a lot of the dumb mistakes I made, but yeah,
if it makes you feel any better, Snay, I just screwed up on a trade earlier today, which I wasn't even going to say publicly, because IDEX is blocking New Yorkers. So I looked on. I'm not going to go into what coin it was because I don't want to pump anything. But there's a coin I'm looking at, and I went in and I bought it. And what's hilarious is if you go on CoinMarketCap, you're going to see this blip, and that guy is me. Because I screwed up. Dude, I screwed up. I don't even want to go into the story. If I told you, I lost so much money in 5 seconds, and it was 100% due to my own stupidity. So if it makes you feel better.
Wait, so you bought it, but you can't get it out because you're in New York?
No. I decided not to use IDEX because I didn't want to deal with the thing. So I went to this other alternative where the volume was a little bit lower without checking, and I bought way too high.
That fingered it.
Fell right back down, and then I went over to IDEX, and I'm like, oh, crap, it's really liquid over here. I should have just bought a VPN. So, yeah, you know, it happens to the best of us, guys. I mean, sorry, Snag.
No, it's okay.
There, we all screw up.
So how do you feel about that then? Like, because
IDEX
decentralized, obviously feel bad about it.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's just throw some arbitrary numbers out there. Let's assume I bought $9,000 worth of something. And as soon as it was in my wallet, it was only worth $6,000. Let's just throw those numbers around and just see how, you know, that's what basically happened. So I'm pretty upset about that. And it was literally because of my own fault. So, yeah.
So how do you feel about decentralized exchanges not being so decentralized?
Well, they're awesome when you use them, but then when this happens, you got no support ticket. So, you know, it's your fault anyway. But DEXs in general, I like them. They have liquidity issues, but I'm worried for them because of what the SEC is doing, man. I mean, I was actually starting to really root for him, kind of get behind him. You know, I was going to start, you know, buying into some of them. And then I heard that and I was like, oh, crap, hold on. Wait a minute here.
But to that point, remember back in the day where debit cards, you know, if you weren't supposed to use your debit card anywhere, right? Because if someone withdrew money or charged your debit card, then there's no way they could reverse that transaction, right? But that was early on back in the day. Do you guys remember that?
I don't even think.
Was that a thing, or was that you know, my parents fooling me?
It might have been a misconception.
Yeah, but was that true though? Like debit cards can't be reversed.
I think you're protected from well, protected is a relative term. But
I feel like they've always had something in place to protect you. I don't know if it was a convenient thing where like they can just like instantly like reverse it. It probably involved a lengthy process that took like months and months and months, and like you really needed that money to like get through the, you know, rent. So maybe,
yeah, maybe I have to chat with my parents. You know,
I think, but I see what you're saying, though. I do agree. Like, honestly, it's weird when you think about it, because even when you look at Bitcoin or just cryptos in general, it's kind of awkward that the person sending pays the fee. Because when you think about it, everything that we're used to in society is I swipe my card, and, you know, the merchant pays the fee. You know what I'm saying? So it is really weird. Like, I have to pay the fee to send it to you, and it's also an irreversible transaction. It's like a totally different concept of money than we're used to. Also, another thing I wanted to add, too, was what is your opinion on it? Like, I hear the argument over store of value versus currency, you know, as far as Bitcoin is concerned. Like, personally, right now, I think it's much more of a store of value because I don't see really anyone using it. And when I personally use it, I don't really use it because most places don't accept it. So what I have to do is either use something like, for example, Monarch, which is going to instantly convert it to fiat, which is what they're going to accept. Or I have to be conscious about like, okay, I'm going on a plane tomorrow. Let me cash out some money in Coinbase. Hopefully it'll be there in a day. And then I'll have some fiat, you know, and that's how we're pretty much using it right now. It's not really being used as a currency. That's a problem too. There's no demand.
Someone want to answer that?
Well, if it's simply black and white, then it's a store of value. Yeah,
I guess it depends on the person on how you acquired it and what you planned on doing with it. I mean, if you're holding it as a store of value, it's just the same thing as gold, right? I mean, you can't go to Starbucks and pay with gold. It's obviously a store of value.
You shave some off on the counter, then they go in the back, they melt it all back down. It's totally convenient.
Like, stamp a face in it, create your own coin. It works like a champ.
I definitely think it's a store of value. The reason why I think that is, look at cash. if physical cash is slow, right? If I wanted to send you cash, it's very slow. I would have to go to the UPS and send it to you that way, right? But if you centralize it and then you make an application for it like Venmo or PayPal, then it's very, very quick. So Bitcoin, if you centralize Bitcoin, you know, like what BitPay has done with their BitPay wallet, where, you know, it's not quite decentralized, where you don't actually own your own funds, but they have a trusted encrypted system in the back end saying, hey, we don't touch any of your money, but we still credit and debit Bitcoin from your account. So instead of going through that hour-long transaction process, what they'll do is say, hey, I'll send it from my own Bitcoin account to your Bitcoin account, and then you could give me your Bitcoin, right? And that's a centralized solution. And Bitcoin can be used that way, but if we really are big fans of decentralization, and you know, when I was first mining Bitcoin, and you know, I was like, hey, decentralization is the future. This is the way to go. You know, I'm slowly turning towards centralization, not away from centralization. Just because it's easier and it's better to use, and everyone has a good time doing it. And
then in that case, what are we doing here in the first place?
Because blockchain still makes a lot of sense.
All this.
Blockchain still makes a lot of sense.
I mean, they don't, but they do. Compare, you know, like the banks work fine right now if you're for centralization.
No, but what I'm saying is if you just put in one Bitcoin into your, you know, centralized solution, and everything else is in a decentralized place where you don't have risk and you actually own your own private keys, maybe that's the solution that it's going towards. Because if Bitcoin does ever get to 2 million or something like that, you know, each Satoshi is going to be worth $1. Yeah. Every single Satoshi, and Satoshis aren't divisible. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you want to buy a piece of gum for 50 cents? You have to give them an entire Satoshi. You know? Exactly. So what are we going to rely on? Is we're going to rely on these centralized solutions to essentially debit and credit your Bitcoin. That's the only future that I see if Bitcoin becomes wildly popular. Is that
you can pay with Tron? What? Sure, Tron. You can pay with Tron.
Yeah, you can pay with Tron. Yeah, where they're 80 trillion coins or whatever they're at now. You know.
I remember an article a while back from a Goldman Sachs executive saying the blockchain can help him save $6 billion a year in fees. So that's what we'll be seeing, but that's the blockchain that's the use case. So
yeah, I mean that's definitely one use case to send money, right? I think the other one, what was that? What was that latest food scare that we had over here? Was it don't eat lettuce?
What, the lettuce?
Yeah,
don't eat the lettuce, guys.
So it was just a blanket statement about don't eat the lettuce, right? So, what was the problem, right? Where did it come from? How did it originate? I know that companies like Walmart, they're requiring their marketplaces to be on crypto within the next 2 years. And guess who's building that solution? It's IBM. So it is a centralized company building a decentralized solution. For it, but like I think that things like that, where they do have a ledger and the ability to track supply chain, from the grower and provide additional information for each one, can be extremely helpful beyond just being a store of value. But you have to incentivize people somehow.
Yeah. I agree with you. Blockchain is really, really good for those things right now that don't require instant results. Like, for example, I just talked to Origin Trail, and those guys are like, yeah, I mean, we're sending stuff in trucks. We don't need it. It can take minutes to confirm. We don't care. Like we're sending trucks across the country and stuff like that. Same thing with voting, blockchain voting. We don't need the answer within 5 seconds after the vote's done, and stuff like that. I agree with you. There's lots of use cases that blockchain definitely just kicks ass at, and there's some things that, like Snay said, centralization is still superior. And until somebody makes that DApp or makes whatever, no one's going to switch to something just because it's decentralized. Like most people, is it cheaper? Is it faster? Is it more secure? Is it fun? Is it better? No. Well, why should I switch? And like I always tell people, I got 2 little sisters, man. So it's like Snapchat and Instagram all day, man. And I just know from experience seeing these people, they are not going to change what they're doing just because it's decentralized. There's just not enough incentive for most people. So it unfortunately it has to be. I think we've put ourselves in a pretty tight spot with that. But hopefully these developers aren't out there working for no reason. So
yeah, all these big institutions, they're going to have a centralized version of what suits them. So
yeah, and a lot of them don't want to really if you ask them why should they decentralize, everything's working so great for them right now. I have control over everything. Like, can you imagine Amazon? Like, why would Amazon want to 100% decentralize? Why? They would never do that, So,
well, imagine it would destroy their business model. That's the part, specifically for a lot of the big data brokers. I mean, that's exactly what they are. Is they have built these models that are attractive to people to use, so people will come over and use them. But ultimately, their end goal is just to get that sweet data, so that they can go market these data sets to different companies. Amazon doesn't make money on selling products; they make money on selling your info.
Yeah,
that's why people need to understand.
I think Amazon's biggest cash earner is web services, right? They subsidize Amazon Prime with their web services, and then so I see what you're saying, but if you did run like a DEX model where, for example, some of these DEXs, Kyber Network still makes money, right, through the transactions. So it doesn't have to be a completely centralized solution. You can still make money, but it actually has to work. Because what we have right now is CryptoKitties, and that's garbage.
But it works.
So, yeah, it works. It barely works.
So that's a good example of adoption, right? Do you see that the minute that came out, a bunch of people bought it, not because of being decentralized or anything like that, but because it was cute, right? Yeah. So what do you want? I mean, that was a good test of the network.
Right now, I see a lot of speculation in the space, man. I see people hopping onto things that are different. Like, if you've noticed, like, a lot of the things that have been able to actually pump in this bear market, they're like projects that don't feel similar. Like, IOTA was really unique when it came out because it did the DAG, but now we have DAGs. They're not exciting anymore, right? So if you kind of look at it, like, we had Raven Coin and that pumped. Well, that was because they were, you're able to create all these different assets and stuff like that. People were kind of somewhat confusing it with domain names, which it really isn't exactly that, but we can get into that for another day. Then you saw Holochain pump, right? Because it's it's not exactly 100% a blockchain. Then you saw Digitex futures pump, totally different concept for trading. So I'm just noticing that it's more of like people jumping on like the next big fad, hoping that they're going to make big gains right now. That's like what I've seen the most of this year. Hopefully that changes, but that's kind of the thing. So like, if you see some crazy coin come out that's doing something different, 9 times out of 10, the community's probably going to just go crazy over it, so they don't know what they're doing right now.
By the time you see a pump, you're going to be chasing, and it's not going to be very lucrative for you.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is probably the worst question that you'll probably ever hear out of my mouth. But when bottom?
Personally, we still got a ways to go. I would think that we can go down there. It's whether or not it's almost impossible to time the bottom, right? So I think that you go back to that mentality of buy the bottoms and sell the tops, right? If you can.
What's CNBC saying right now? Do the opposite.
Yeah, just do the
That's
opposite.
all I know.
I think Bloomberg called the death of crypto probably about 7 times this in the past 3 days. And then we saw a tweet come out from Peter Schiff today saying that, kind of an I told you so type tweet about how Bitcoin is never going to come back. And that's an interesting one, too. I mean, he's always been a pretty vocal opponent against Bitcoin because
But he's a precious metal head. Silver is below $14. What is he talking about?
You don't have to tell me that, but I think that a lot of people follow these guys. They're influencers in the space, and so when they say something, if it resonates well with them, they like to go back and repeat it to their friends.
But hear me out, okay? Silver was $38 in 2011.
I believe you.
And now it's under $14. Like, why do so many people love precious metals and hate digital assets like Bitcoin?
I mean, I'm a big fan of gold and silver too. So, I've pulled all my money out of the stock market. I mean, even considering cashing my 401k, not to go buy crypto, but really it's just one of those things where I do want to hedge. I don't want to take another 40%.
But here's the thing, okay? And you see oil is super low as well right now. Oil is almost at $2 per gallon if you go to your gas station in certain places. Not for you in New York, KDub. Sorry.
I know. That's okay. I don't even drive. I sit in front of a green screen all day, so I don't even know what you guys are talking about. So.
Yeah, and not for us in California. But if you go down to the East Coast or where it's a large port city or a large railway city, you'll see gas prices and commodities are dropping left and right. Oil is super low. Per barrel, it is incredibly, incredibly low. I think it's like $28 per barrel right now. Like, just think of a big-ass barrel and fill it with oil, and you could get one of those for $28. Okay? That's not actually how it works, with shipping and stuff like that. But just imagine that. That's how much it's actually worth.
That's cheaper. That is literally cheaper than car wash soap. And I know this because I used to own a car wash and they come in the same size barrels.
It's cheaper than printer ink. I just bought printer ink for $40.
Well, yeah, that's
I might as well donate blood and start writing blood from now on.
You know what I wanted to say on that, as far as I think there's a disconnect, Snake, between like you said, why don't people understand digital assets? I think literally they just don't understand digital assets. Like, it's actually that simple. I mean, I've been in the space now. I have a YouTube channel. I make a video every single day. My dad still doesn't understand where Bitcoin is. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, just like, well, where do I put the Bitcoins? And are you sure no one can take them? They literally don't understand the concept of on a blockchain, and that it's really just a metaphor. No one actually owns Bitcoins. You know what I'm saying? It's all just numbers, but it's really difficult. And I think a lot of people are still under the concept of the centralized thing. Like, they don't understand the difference of, if I send you a text message with a picture, now there's two pictures. They don't understand that in crypto, if I send you a picture, that I don't have that picture anymore.
Yeah.
It's not mine anymore. And that really confuses them. And they don't understand private keys. And they feel like, my dad literally said to me, well, what happens if one day like Bitcoin shuts down and it just vanishes? You know what I mean? Like, people really think that that's a possibility. So I still think there's a lot of fear, and, people are putting something in, faith into things like metals, which have been around for years and years and years and years. They feel comfortable because it's been around.
And I love this discussion because, we are describing crypto as a commodity, just like we're talking about gold, just like we're talking about oil. And what happens to commodities when the federal interest rate rises?
They pump.
It dumps, right?
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, it dumps. Every time the federal interest rate rises or the Fed does something drastic, it dumps, right? Or am I mistaken?
I think, personally for me, I think it's, people start to look at commodities to hedge against, traditional equities market, right? So they're exiting into things that they can hedge against to preserve value.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, whether it's gold, silver, oil, bonds, different stuff, right? Than being in an asset where you're holding in a declining market. Same thing with, when people say, hey, Bitcoin's going down while you're holding in a declining market. I mean, it's a speculative asset. Whereas some of these other traditional stocks and equities that people feel are solid, when those things dip 10%, people freak out. And I don't know. I do think that people hedge into gold and silver and other commodities.
What is everybody's thoughts right now? I mean, I consider everyone on this panel way more intelligent than me when it comes to like trading and finance and all that. I mean, that wasn't even my thing. When you get into crypto, you kind of just become a trader naturally. But like, what is happening in general? Where the hell is the money going? I mean, the stocks are doing bad. Real estate isn't doing that well. I've been speaking to some friends. Some of them are actually lowering their rent for some of their commercial properties. We have crypto tanking. Like, what's happening in general? It's not just crypto.
I think people are going liquid, man.
Trickle down economics don't work, right? It's just flat out proof that trickle down economics don't work, because if it did, where we would be seeing it all around the economy. Where is this money going? It's just
it's all going liquid. Money doesn't disappear, guys.
No, it doesn't. Let's let
I just don't know where it is. Where is it? That's what I'm asking. I mean,
that's exactly. Where are they putting it? They're hoarding it away. They're putting it into assets. They're keeping it out of the market. It's no longer liquid. I think you said that.
What do you think, James?
That's exactly right.
It's
definitely not getting injected into the economy. That's for sure.
Well, back to fiat. Fiat only has a certain lifespan. If you look at history, gold and silver is going to be around forever. It's a hedge. And that a lot of crypto people don't understand. You need a diversified portfolio. These big players that actually have crypto in their portfolio, it's 1-2%. And you just got to have a diversified portfolio that makes sense. And, we're seeing an exiting of the markets because there was overinflation. Things were just pumping up. We had, when Trump came in, stocks just kept rising. There's some uncertainty now. Same with crypto. People are taking their money out because they're not making money in those investments, so they might as well hold it. And plus, they need it for day-to-day living because things are getting more expensive. There's inflation, so it all makes sense. It's a cycle. It's all cyclical.
Oh, well, all right. So I like that you brought that up. Okay, Trump came in. The market was higher than it's ever been, right? The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Index both were the highest ever. They were recently in October wiped out. The entire year's of gains wiped out in about 2 weeks. But why this recent trend? Is there a trigger for it? Can I prevent it, or is it just like, am I at mercy of the markets?
I mean, if you're going into long-term positions now, it's like buying the top, right? So I don't know. I mean, well, not now anymore since we've come down significantly, but I think it's one of those things where you look back when the market for cryptos in December and alts in December as well. That was just insane amount of gains, right? Everybody was just euphoric about it, buying it, and the majority of the people who had purchased earlier in the year were probably a bit more reserved about buying that, just because they know that the market is not sustainable. So, kind of overall market. I mean, I don't trade too much. I've closed all my long positions in traditional markets as well. I just don't feel comfortable. I can't watch it enough, and the gains or the losses. I mean, I'd rather not take long-term losses on my my stocks. So I'm in cash, waiting for other opportunities.
I mean,
looking ahead commodities.
Even if you look at the big three, Amazon, Google, and Apple, and Microsoft, they're all
cutting out, Snake.
What?
You're cutting out. You cut out. You cut out for me at least.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. So even though things like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, my lithium stocks, my silver and gold ETFs that I have completely exited out of. The only thing that's keeping up is biotech for me. But when do we see a reversal in this market? Like, what needs to happen within the government or the interest rates, or what actually needs to happen to kind of get us out of this slump? Because, we're seeing even unemployment rising in the United States. I don't know how it is in Australia, but, things are getting more and more tense. It feels like maybe because, my crypto's going down, now I'm more aware. Like, oh shit, my portfolio's down, so maybe I've got heightened senses, almost like a deer in headlights. Or is this actually happening? Or is this actually, part of a bigger drop that we haven't seen yet? I wouldn't call it as bad as 2008, but are we going to see something like 2008 happen?
Well,
I sure hope my traditional investment portfolio can't sustain another beating like it took in 2008. So I certainly hope that we don't see it pulling back.
It's been strange in the US with interest rates at zero. It's good for borrowing, and then the people are buying back their own stock. So it was just inflating the market, and you can't store your money in the bank. So over here we can get like 5% from having our money in the bank. We get 5% a year. So if the markets aren't doing well, we can just chuck our money in the bank. The bank makes money off loaning the money. So I just don't understand how these policies in America with 0% interest rates, and it shouldn't be zero. I think it's inflated the market proportionally.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just look at Japan. Japan has a 0% interest rate and a 0% growth GDP. That's ridiculous. How is that entire country sustaining itself? Basically on foreign labor. And yet it's still so. I don't understand. I really don't understand the Japanese economics or how they're going to, what their projections for the next 10 years are going to look like, let alone 20 or 30. Is it just going to be the way of the dinosaur, that entire economy, or is it actually going to be able to sustain itself with its manufacturing export goods? So we'll see. Is everybody there going to be on welfare, or what's going to happen? Are we looking at a universal income here?
Can't the US just print more money and loan them some money?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing.
That's what we always do. How many more IOUs are we going to be able to write before people call?
America number one, baby. Look at it, dude. What is it? 4 times? We have 4 times as much student debt than all of the real estate, not commercial real estate, but residential real estate debt that caused the bubble in the first place.
I believe that. I don't know, but I believe that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, people are going to these schools, paying $40,000 to get an art degree, and then they're coming out with $160,000 in loans, and then they unable to pay them off, and then they default. And well, you can't default. You can't even claim bankruptcy on them because there's only 2 things you can't claim bankruptcy on. That's student loans and child support. Those are the only 2 things you can't claim bankruptcy on. And now they just accumulate these debts, and they push it out for 20 years, and then they push it out for another 30 years. So they're paying off their student loans for the rest of their life because, of course, there's interest tacked onto these loans. Something's got to happen. There has to be proletariat uprising soon.
Well, I'll tell you what, you made me feel a lot better about myself because now I'm thinking about all these losses, but at least I still have some. At least I'm not negative. Now that you bring it out, God, I mean, you think Bitcoin's bad to college, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're in the negatives, buddy. So it's pretty funny, actually. You can put it that way.
No, it's true. Like, just to get my undergrad.
Frozen. I'm back. Frozen again.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
Just to get my undergrad and master's, that was around $90,000. Which for a 23-year-old, I'm not 23 anymore, obviously. But at the time when I got that $90,000 big ass bill, I was like, okay, well, I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. But
look at you now.
Unfortunately, Bitcoin shot up, so I won't be doing that. I already paid it all off. But
that's why it's been crashing. Everyone's been paying their student loans, cashing out. They finally got their big break. So.
Oh, for sure. Like, I've taken out probably like a couple thousand more times than I've actually put in. So maybe people like us, the early Bitcoin guys that all pat themselves on the head are the problem. But
I had the opportunity to get in at $8 and I was too busy getting drunk at a party. So listen, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't care. We all have our excuses. What are you going to do? You can't change the past, and yeah, some people got in earlier, but there's so many more opportunities moving forward. And that's the most important thing is you can't dwell on mistakes or losses. You have to use them as lessons and learn from them. And that's all you can do, or else just get the hell out and go get a regular job or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I told people, like, it's not that bad, guys. Like, especially if you're in the West, like, okay, so you lost some money on Bitcoin, big deal. Go back, work at the job, do your thing. It's not the end of the world. As long as you're not putting your rent check into crypto, which some people did, which that's crazy, but you're fine. Just put a little bit away, 10% each week, dollar cost average. I think people get a little confused. Like, it's funny because when Bitcoin's going up to 20K and you buy at 3, you buy at 6, you buy at 9, it's like, oh yeah, sure. I'm just dollar cost. But when it's going the other way, suddenly like, oh no, I bought too high. But like when it reverses itself, if you look at this with a bigger picture, you just did the same thing with the same amount of money, just in the other way around. So now dollar cost on the way back up, and you're going to be better off than the next wave of retail investors buying at 50K or whatever it is. So you got to look at the brighter side of life, guys. But
the consensus of this entire group is we are still headed down. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, we don't really have a reason to go up yet. Just
exactly
stability.
I think we're just going to keep testing support until we don't.
Exactly. I think that's exactly it. And I think we've got some pretty heavy hurdles. That 6K is going to be a mother foe to come up, to surpass now that it's become resistance instead of support. We've really only got 2 large order blocks below where we're at right now. just looking through historically, at least going back.
But what do you guys think about the fact, and you guys, like I said, you're more professional than me, but the fact that we're actually getting lower and lower and lower and lower market cap, doesn't that make it easier to actually manipulate it?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, down, but also
absolutely.
up as well, right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
so I think to myself, the lower it goes, the actual better chance you have of making better returns, because it's going to be easier to get that price to jump up. I mean,
but here's the thing: if you own a lot of money, you are not going into the open market and buying 500 Bitcoin, because that would drastically sway the price of Bitcoin. And I don't even think that much money is available, right? Or that much Bitcoin is available in these markets at the same time, right? If I wanted to buy right now at current price 500 Bitcoin in the open market, I couldn't do it. Even if I aggregated Coinbase and Binance and things like that, it'll drastically swing the price back up because, of course, supply and demand. So people are going, people like James running an OTC desk, they buy over the counter, which doesn't impact the market whatsoever. Is that correct, James? Like, it doesn't impact the market whatsoever, right?
Well, it can later on. It depends what the people do with, say, if they buy Bitcoin OTC, maybe they'll sell some on the exchange. So, and then it will affect it. It just depends, but it doesn't initially, at least.
Yeah, I mean, from this point right now to that 6,000 resistance is a long way, right? So whoever's buying right now can definitely be making a tremendous amount of profit on the way up to 6,000. So that 6,000 barrier that we're trying to break through, is going to be quite tough. Probably be there for quite some time. But I guess keep us posted on what you see on OTC, James.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
Hey, Jason, is there anybody or any questions in the chat that we're missing? I see
there's a couple. I don't know. There's some. I mean, obviously, there's some trolls trolling. There's some people trying to, sounds like, throw some shade at KDub. So we'll skip that. If you feel like you want to address those, KDub, feel free, dude. But I'm not going to. I
don't even care. I'm not even. I don't even see that. I don't have the comments pulled up here. But whatever's being said, it's fine. I'm used to it. I can only imagine what they're saying. So.
Oh, come on.
People are mad. You have a group. We have a group too. They probably hate us all.
Yeah.
I have a group. What's my group?
There's one guy that keeps saying, "Hey, Snay." There's one guy that keeps saying, "Hey, Snay, you said ETH will never be below 350," and my bad. I don't know what to tell you, but it looked a lot better. I mean, you should have set your stop losses. I'm always a big advocate on stop losses, and I've actually sold a lot of my Bitcoin at 39.50, whatever I haven't sold at 15,000. So, keep those stop losses tight. But we have gone about an hour and 20 minutes so far. Any final thoughts here, guys?
No, I mean, I see a comment in there about Bizant token. Are you familiar with that, KDub?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Bizant.
What do you think about it?
It's like some kind of I don't even know. Like I haven't even looked into it. A lot of people are telling me to look into it. I haven't really looked into it that much. Yeah. So yes, Cole Chapman. I'm actually now in it. I'm actually now looking at the chat. Yes, I will be doing a Bizant video. And to the guy that said about the Zebi shilling thing, it's hilarious. He's obviously part of the Chico army and does not do his research and just blindly follows whatever other people say without doing their own research. Yeah. So I mean, listen, dude. We can all take
no one does that.
We can literally all go online, take videos of other people, put them together, and then add a conspiracy in the middle and suddenly pretend like we know what's going on. But it's all good. It's been awesome. So
yeah, and I think we talked about Bizant before, and we've addressed it a few different times. I think it's an interesting project just because of the team and their consensus model. And the fact that it's South Korean project, but
yeah, I remember now. Yeah, well, I'd love to see
project, right?
I mean, I'm optimistic about any ICO. Am I optimistic about any ICO? What? Probably not.
I swear, Snay read through the white paper on the stream recently or something. Or
yeah, I did. But I'm just waiting for any sort of product to be released. I'm a product first kind of guy now. There's so many coulda, woulda, shouldas. ICOs that have come out, and they don't even do anything. I'm still waiting on OMG. What the hell is going on with OMG? It was $1 billion Vitalik backed. All right, let's not get me started there. But yeah, yeah. product first,
Yeah,
then invest.
I remember a lot of people were excited for OMG because that Vitalik was an advisor and everybody was so pumped about it. And I mean, they're doing stuff. I think they're doing a few things over with taxis or something like that. I heard, or that might have been somebody else. They're like integrating payment systems with taxis. I think that was the last I heard.
I think that like there's so many right now. If they're not constantly in the news, then they kind of get left in the dust. And there was a big thing with Icon. We talked about South Korean projects, but with Icon and the increase of market supply, we talked about that last week as well. But they're constantly trying to address that. And I know that they just recently came out and said they're doing a $5 million buyback for Icon. So that seems like they're listening to the community and trying to do their best to make ends meet on there.
But there's an example of a project that's been doing nothing but actually pushing forward, like making partnerships actually being used with education institutions and all these other things, and literally it's only doubled from its ICO.
Yeah, and I think the reason is like they didn't meet some things on the roadmap, but they did all these other things that were awesome. The partnership with Samsung and everything like that. It's just like people are looking at specific things and trying to nitpick. And saying, okay, well, just because they didn't do that, then we're going to discount all the things that they did do. And knowing that they also had to do token distribution for the people, that was part of the white paper for them to say that, we have to distribute to community partners, to distribute to our foundation.
Well, of course, that happens with all ICOs. I mean, there's always guys that get involved. They get, the coins get, dropped off at certain, you have certain times they release them over a period. But, to ask this question, and, I'm not even going to just say Icon. Let's talk about any project in general. Just pull a project out of a hat. Would you rather have your project hit milestones just to hit them? Or would you rather have your project actually get the tech working properly the way it's supposed to be a little bit late?
Turned off their marketing departments and their market making to save money, and they're developing the tech. You're just not hearing about it, but that's what they're doing.
IOTA is one of those guys because, I had actually reached out to IOTA. A few other people did. We wanted to do some interviews, see what was going on, and they just flat out were like, yeah, we're not really doing that right now. We're just working. So that's why you don't see a lot of IOTA videos. But they're busy.
I'm working with a project like that now, and they're busy. They're doing good stuff. They're getting traction, but they're not doing marketing yet. They have it quite strategic, and their financial model is very sophisticated. But there's a lot of good things happening in the space, that's for sure.
I think that's the real thing that we need to keep talking about. Obviously I think it's very common for all the other channels, and, I'm susceptible to it as well, to fall in with FUD where, because that's the loudest voices, right? I mean, it's kind of like the reason that Yelp exists. People love to go talk about bad experience, but they're not as likely to have a good experience. So,
it's so true though. Like when things go the way that's planned, you just expect them to be that way, right? But as soon as they go the way that you don't want them to, that's when you start yelling and screaming and hollering, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, like now I want my money back from this ICO. I didn't make any money off of it, right? So it's like, yeah, no wonder these guys are trying to classify it as securities. Your literal only thing that you're bitching about is the fact that you didn't make money. You didn't make money, and you were expecting to make money based on the performance of the company without you doing anything. You're basically admitting that it is a security, which is why a lot of these are probably going to get the hammer, just like we've seen with, Paragon and AirFox, and Colorado's got 18 cease and desist orders right now. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to get a lot crazier, man, especially with the regulations. So, I mean, I could see just that alone affecting price, instilling more fear into the markets as well, because people don't want to go to jail. People don't want to own things that are illegal. Sure. So
Paragon is kind of funny though, because they spun it as a positive. If you look at, I just wanted to check it out because
on the tweet when the guy was like celebrating, right? Is that what you're talking about?
They spun it as a positive that they were able to go back and re-register, that they didn't get shut down. But in reality, it's quite negative when you're forced to cease and desist and then pay back investors. It's not necessarily positive, but they're definitely trying to spin it.
Yeah, I just remember the one where the CEO and the rapper of the game. There's an Instagram video out there.
That's Paragon.
Yeah, and they're smoking weed.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, this isn't going to be looked at by the SEC at all, right? Ridiculous. ridiculous. But yeah, cool. I guess we've been on for about an hour and a half here. So we just said our closing thoughts, and I guess we'll leave it at weed smoking and Paragon with the wrapper of the game. Other than that, guys, thank you so much to James, and of course our special guest, Crypto Zombie. Yeah, you guys are all welcome back here anytime, every Monday that we do. Anyways, I really do appreciate everybody joining us here today. And please feel free to join our free Discord group using the banner above, cryptosomniac.com/discord1. Or join the Advantage, whatever you guys want. Nevertheless, thank you guys so much here for joining us. Take it easy, y'all.
I just want to chime in real quick. If anybody does want to sign up for the Advantage, we did run a Cyber Monday sale, so 25% off any of the Advantage subscriptions. So if you're interested, head on over to cryptosomniac.com, click the little rocket in the top right corner, and feel free to join us in the community. If you want to just test it out, you can get in for free.
Also, Crypto Zombie, how do people find you? Where do they find you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, first you have to sign up for my my private group that you have to pay for. Just kidding. No, seriously. Yeah, just search Crypto Zombie on YouTube. You'll see my face somewhere, the zombie. That's it. Crypto Zombie on YouTube and the Crypto Zombie on Twitter. So, and by the way, guys, thank you so much for having me on. Like, you guys have way more experience in this field, but it was an honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Hey, you're being modest.
Anytime, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Seriously, yeah, it's I think some of the best connections we made this year were just with other solid YouTubers. So yeah, thanks for making time to come on and help cross-pollinate further in the space.
Dude, I'm here for the community, man. I don't know. Like I don't know about this tribalism that's going on. People fighting over whose coin is better. I mean, guys, if we're in the space, we're all losing or we're all winning. And I think we all know who the real villains are, and they're the fat cats trying to get in. They're the guys on the other side of the screen. When you're selling your Bitcoin, that guy that's buying from you, that's the guy you got to worry about. Okay, so that's all I got
to say. All right, man.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
See ya.